Look closely at the westernmost fringe of the European continent. This is not a landscape engineered for human tranquility or predictable comfort. It is a violent, raw, tectonic collision point where the stable landmass of Europe abruptly terminates, shearing downward into 3,000 miles of open, volatile, and entirely unshielded North Atlantic Ocean. For thousands of years, early cartographers and classical navigators viewed this jagged, black coastline not as a commercial gateway to the west, but as the literal, terrifying edge of the known world. A place where the mapping of human civilization naturally dissolved into myth and open water. Yet today, this thin, weather-beaten strip of rock supports a highly sophisticated modern society that somehow balances a hyper-digital, corporate-driven knowledge economy with ancient, unyielding communal traditions. It represents an immense demographic and social anomaly that few outside observers ever fully calculate or understand. To comprehend the internal mechanics of modern Ireland, you have to consciously look past the sterile, postcard imagery of the green, rolling interior plain. You must directly confront the raw, wind-scoured, and intensely isolated reality of the Atlantic Fringe, a place where the weather does not simply pass through, but actively shapes the psychological architecture of the people who refuse to ever sail away. Surviving out here along this marine boundary requires an immediate, total surrender to atmospheric volatility. The first lesson any community memorizes is that the landscape dictates the terms of life, completely independent of human ambition. Consider the geomorphology of the Burren, a vast, surreal plateau of exposed gray limestone sheets stretching across the horizon like the fractured surface of an alien moon. Out here, there is no deep topsoil to plow, no soft earth to cultivate. Instead of retreating from this stark rock, generations of local pastoralists developed an ingenious, hyper-localized agricultural rhythm known as winterage. In direct reversal of typical European farming traditions, herds are guided up into the high limestone karsts during the freezing winter months. Because the massive limestone pavements act as natural solar batteries, retaining the summer's residual heat throughout the dark season, they keep unique alpine flora and grasses alive when the low-lying valleys are completely frozen and waterlogged. A few miles off the coast, stranded in the middle of the crashing swells, the sheer cliffs of the Aran Islands demanded an even higher degree of existential resourcefulness. Survival here required literal earth-making. Early island communities systematically gathered marine seaweed and sand directly from the surf, layering it meticulously by hand over the bare, frozen rock to manufacture synthetic topsoil from scratch. Every single tiny field is completely enclosed by high, intricate networks of drystone walls, erected entirely without a single ounce of mortar or cement. These structures are not decorative boundaries or simple property lines. They are highly advanced aerodynamic windbreaks. By placing each stone loosely by hand, the builders created deliberate, microscopic gaps within the masonry. This allows the ferocious hurricane-force Atlantic gales to pass harmlessly through the wall rather than colliding with a solid barrier, preventing the wind from lifting and blowing the fragile, handmade topsoil straight into the ocean. It is an extraordinary testament to human endurance, a landscape engineered piece by piece to withstand absolute exposure. This historical environmental hostility did not break the social resolve of the population. Instead, it forced the evolution of a radical level of social cohesion and mutual reliance. When your physical survival across the winter depends entirely on your neighbor's immediate willingness to help you secure a roof before an Atlantic storm wall hits, individual isolation becomes an impossible luxury. This is the precise cultural origin of the Irish concept of methil, an ancient foundational practice of cooperative labor where entire rural villages instantly unite to clear a harvest, repair a fishing fleet, or rebuild a collapsed homestead without a single coin changing hands. It is an unwritten social contract that persists directly into the fabric of the modern era. This deeply ingrained cultural baseline explains why the National Police Force, An Garda Síochána, still purposefully operates on an entirely non-militarized framework, with the vast majority of frontline officers patrolling rural communities completely unarmed. Security on this island is not maintained through the threat of state force or automated surveillance. It is preserved through the immense weight of localized social trust. You see this code vividly alive within the unwritten etiquette of the village public house. To the casual outsider, the pub appears to be a standard commercial drinking establishment, but within the geography of isolation, it functions as a critical piece of civic infrastructure. It is a communal living room, a safe haven from the bone-deep coastal dampness, and an informal courthouse where local oral histories are cross-examined, regional politics are picked apart, and community safety nets are quietly constructed over long, unhurried evenings. In these rooms, presence is understood as the ultimate form of solidarity, a silent, shared understanding that the sea surrounds them all, and no one should have to weather the dark months alone. However, the geographic isolation of the 20th century has been abruptly replaced by a highly complex 21st century structural paradox. Driven by aggressive economic policies, favorable corporate tax structures, and massive subsea fiber optic trunks anchoring directly into the Atlantic coast, Ireland's western urban nodes have transformed into critical hubs for the global technology sector. Today, young software engineers and data analysts manage massive international cloud deployments from sleek glass offices that sit only a short drive away from 5,000-year-old megalithic passage tombs like Newgrange. This rapid, unprecedented economic acceleration has created a harsh, visible friction within the domestic landscape. The massive, unchecked influx of multinational corporate capital has driven urban real estate values and consumer price indexes to historic highs, triggering a profound, systemic housing crisis across the nation. The stark irony is impossible to ignore. The very generation of highly educated young professionals tasked with coding the digital future is increasingly priced out of the homes, towns, and communities that their ancestors have inhabited for centuries. This economic suffocation has created a painful, modern wave of immigration, forcing the brightest minds of the island to look outward toward global gateways like London, New York, and Sydney, just to secure the basic stability of an affordable home. The modern state exists as a highly optimized paradise for international enterprise. Yet it remains an immense socio-economic puzzle for the local population trying to maintain a permanent foothold on their own soil. Yet, despite the immense homogenizing pressures of hyper-globalization and international corporate culture, the foundational cultural fabric of the island stubbornly refuses to tear. You witness this resilience clearly in the preservation of the Gaeltacht, the officially designated coastal regions where Gaeilge, the native Celtic language, remains the primary currency of daily human interaction, community commerce, and familial life. This language survives not as a historical novelty or a performance for tourists, but as a living, protective shield, safeguarding an entire way of interpreting the world. You see it similarly in the lightning-fast physical intensity of hurling, a sport played with sculpted ash sticks that has been passed down continuously from player to player since the Bronze Age, preserving a warrior spirit of reflexes and local pride within modern athletic stadiums. Most profoundly, this unyielding continuity is written directly into the physical infrastructure of the country itself. When multi-million euro national highway projects are mapped out by corporate firms using state-of-the-art satellite topography, civil engineers still routinely alter their multi-million euro blueprints, bending entire multi-lane roads out of alignment simply to avoid disturbing a solitary, gnarled hawthorn fairy tree standing alone in a field. In a country that hosts the European data headquarters for the world's largest tech conglomerates, modern citizens still collectively refuse to violate the ancient territorial boundaries of traditional folklore. It is a calculated, deeply respectful compromise with geography. It is an unspoken national acknowledgement that a society can only safely inhabit the high-tech demands of the future if it fiercely protects its psychological and spiritual continuity with the past, choosing to spend extra capital rather than fracturing its historic roots. Ultimately, living out here on the wild Atlantic edge demands a specific, enduring type of human resilience. It is a life intentionally lived in the margins, constantly balanced between atmospheric volatility and deep, unshakable communal warmth. In an increasingly fast-paced, highly fragmented digital world that prioritizes sterile convenience and relentless speed, this island offers a profound masterclass in what it truly means to remain rooted to a place. It stands as a powerful, living reminder that true human wealth is not found in predictable sunshine, anonymous luxury, or global uniformity, but in the structural integrity of a community that knows exactly who they are, remembers precisely where they came from, and understands explicitly how to stand together to weather the storm. As the dark Atlantic evening closes in over the western cliffs, the warm lights flickering from isolated coastal windows serve as silent monuments to survival, proving that even on the edge of the world, human connection remains the ultimate shelter against the wild.